Okay, I think we can go ahead. So I'd first like to introduce Naromati, who's the Karahi for the business school.
Kia ora, thank you, Dave. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou, manawa mai te Māori nuku, manawa mai te Māori rangi, ko te Māori kei au, he Māori tupua, ka pakuru mai te pō, tau mai te Māori, haumi e, hui e, tae ki e. I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā raurangatira mā, tēnā koutou, nau te raurau, nā ku te raurau, ka ora te manuhiri. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. We welcome you all today as leaders. With your knowledge and with our knowledge, we will sustain everyone. Ka nui, ka huri ki te whare, ki a koe, Dave. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you so much, Naramati. So thank you, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the information session, so the Leadership Mindset information session. Today, my name is Dave Evers, and I'm the Manager of Business Development in Executive and Professional Development. And we hope over the next hour to give you a really good overview of the program, and we have a lot of people that you'll be hearing from. So just a quick agenda. So we're going to give you an overview of the Auckland Business School and Executive and Professional Development and how that fits in into Auckland Business School. An overview of this Leadership Mindset program, schedule and enrollment process. We're going to hear from some of our alumni from the program, and then discussion and Q&A, question and answer. You can ask questions through the Q&A function in your settings there, and we will answer your questions mostly at the end after we hear our alumni. But certainly, if you have questions as we're going through, enter them in. And we can get to them if they're relevant to the topic. Okay, thank you very much. And I'd now like to introduce first our speakers from the business school who will be talking to you first. So we'll have Dr. Rachel Wright, who is the Director of Executive and Professional Development. Next, Dr. Lainey Woosley, who is our lead facilitator for the program, and she'll be giving you a program overview, and then Philippa Collins, who's been working with the program for many years and will be giving you a brief overview as well as introducing our alumni and moderating the Q&A with our alumni. So I will turn it over to Rachel.
Thanks, Dave. Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to this information session. I thought we should start by just explaining the Exec and Professional Development unit, and that is the unit which teaches leadership mindset. So we sit within the business school at the University of Auckland, and we specialise in teaching a range of exec and professional development courses and programs for individuals, teams, and organisations. We're really lucky because we actually have the best of both worlds. We're able to tap into the thought leadership, academic research of academics within the business school and the wider University of Auckland ecosystem, along with our industry experts who are currently out there, understand best practice and what's happening. So we actually provide our participants in all our programs and courses with the latest theory and knowledge, as well as practical tools. I should add that everything we do has a very practical element that can be applied in your role or job tomorrow. And really our focus, particularly in the last year with COVID, is to create programs that will build the right capabilities that New Zealand organisations need today, whether you're in government, non-profit or in a business. When you participate in one of our programs, you become part of our wider alumni ecosystem, and you will be able to connect in with this network across the business school university. You will find if you're part of this program, one of the most valuable things that you'll get out of it is the network. This is from your cohort, the speakers that you're going to meet, and the alumni that also help contribute to the program. I just want to say congratulations on taking this step on your leadership journey. And I hope that, because we need leadership more than ever right now, and good leadership. I think is going to be key to enable success and prosperity for New Zealand in the future. Please make use of this time to ask questions and find out what you need to know about our program. And I just want to wish you all the best on your leadership journey, whether you participate in our program or choose a different journey. So back to you, Dave, and all the best.
Thank you, Rachel. So now I'd like to turn over to Lainey, who is the lead facilitator, and I believe you are in Hamilton at a research day.
Ai. Tēnā koutou katoa no ingarangi o Kutipuna ko tangata tiriti te iwi, ko putoa ki te maunga e ruru nei taku ngākau, ko rangata ki te awa e mahia nei aku maharahara, e noho au ki whakatāne, ko Lainey Woolsey toku ingoa no the Aotearoa Centre of Leadership and Governance aho, no reira tēnā tātou katoa. So yes, I'm in Hamilton, kia ora. I'm very echoey. I look like I'm in a jail cell. And the reason is I'm actually on a research day today looking at leadership in sustainable transformations with Scion, forestry and ag research, which is a very exciting opportunity. But as Dave mentioned, as Rachel has pointed to, I'm very honoured to be the lead facilitator of the Leadership Mindset Programme now for coming up 3 years. This programme has a really interesting heritage. I'd just like to talk briefly about the context, the content and the structure of the programme. So it has originated within the New Zealand Leadership Institute, which has been kind of the first of its kind. About 15 years ago was the first think tank to really bring together leadership practice and leadership research so that the work that we can be doing with organisations in Aotearoa is really rooted in evidence-based research. And the reason for that is, as Rachel alluded to, we do find ourselves operating in what many call this VUCA world. So V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity. And obviously with all of the very many global challenges that face us, there is a recognition that a new form of leadership is required, which actually we believe at the University of Auckland requires a real shift in mindset. So a number of years ago, I think it's about 11 or 12 years ago now, the programme was designed with that in mind. It has obviously moved on since then, but the foundations of our thinking are the same. And they basically work on the basis that in order to be able to do leadership, we have to know what we mean by leadership, and we have to adopt a mindset of leadership. Some of you might be familiar with this term mindset, which has become quite popular in terms of growth mindsets and fixed mindsets. In terms of our context for why this program exists and why it continues to flourish, it sets itself apart from programs that focus on a tool set or a skill set. Now, all three of those are really important. So as leaders, we need to have the tools to be able to actually grapple with the challenges facing us and the skills. So we need to develop our own capability in terms of leadership practice, but we have to change how we see leadership, how we understand leadership, which is why we begin with mindset. And what we mean by that is basically accepting that leadership requires a different way of thinking about a challenge. So others of you might have heard of the phrase wicked challenge. So we have a framework where we think about challenges as tame challenges, which, the solutions to which might be fairly process-based and tactical and actually fairly straightforward. And then we've got these kind of messier challenges, which often involve really complicated and complex ways of working through them. And then we've got what we like to call wicked challenges. And those are the really big, gritty challenges that often involve emotion and people and culture. And that's where we see leadership as being vital. So our program works to identify those challenges in your work. And if you do come into this program, we will ask that you bring to the program something that you're wrestling with. Usually that's in a work context. So it might be, for example, in the last program we ran, we invited people to bring a kind of challenge that they could apply their learning to. And for many, it was around COVID and how their organisation or their industry might need to adapt, and quite quickly and urgently, because of the really major challenges that was presenting. But it might also be a kind of more holistic challenge that you're working with in your personal life. But we would ask that people coming onto this program have something that they've recognised that they need to work on. So the first step in our program is identifying leadership. And in fact, the first 2 days is entirely given up to that. We bring in quite a lot of practice that draws from Te Ao Māori. So this model of leadership as wayfinding, we find real value in that. But we also combine that with a theory of adaptive leadership and how actually leadership requires us to slow down and resist the temptation to jump to solutions and actually hold and suspend our judgment and really frame questions deeply and critically, and to make sure that we're getting to the essence of what the leadership challenge really is. So those first 2 days are completely dedicated to understanding what we mean by leadership, and how we use case studies, we use examples and stories to compare what leadership looks like with what some of those other kind of managerial skills and tactical solutions and technical responses might be. So those 2 days are spent identifying leadership. And then the second module, which those first 2 days can be quite tricky for some people because it really requires a reset and how you see the world. The second module is often the most rewarding for many people because that's the doing leadership. So the first one is identifying, the second one is doing, and we look at really practical ways that once you've got an understanding of what leadership requires, how can you then apply that to your specific situation? So we look at framing, we look at boundaries, how to identify boundaries in your leadership work, how to use framing as a practice, how to use reframing as a practice, and some of those quite sort of practical tools that you can then apply once you've got a handle on a leadership mindset. And the third workshop kind of brings it all together, and we call it sustaining leadership. So that's where we look at kind of change, models of change, how to embed change, how to bring the leadership mindset into a more collective space so that you can actually empower the people around you and work more collectively together on those kind of bigger, lofty visions. So that's how the program's structured in terms of the 3 workshops, 2 days for each workshop. And so, yeah, as I say, we cover lots of kind of theoretical ideas of leadership, but we also work really, really tangibly with participants' actual leadership challenges that they're facing. So there's lots and lots of times we break into small groups, we have discussions, we use all sorts of different techniques with drawing, with putting together kind of 3-dimensional representations of leadership challenges, and lots of opportunities to share and to learn from one another. That's a really, really important part of the process within the Leadership Mindset program. And that's another point that we would find is different from other programs that you might do online or you might do in much more an individualistic way. This is very much a collective program, and we do find that the people coming through do remain in touch and do continue to have a relationship and bounce things off one another as they go forward. Alongside the main program, so we have 3 workshops, each of which is 2 days. We also have peer-to-peer learning. So we match you up with a partner within the group, usually someone with quite a different leadership context. And then we invite you to connect in between time to kind of sustain the learning between workshops. And we usually invite guest speakers in as well to share their experiences. And often those are people who've been through the program a number of years before, so they can then share how all of the learning has applied and they've managed to take it forward into their leadership journey. So that's a little taste of what we cover in the program and how it comes together. It is really important that if you're thinking about doing this program, that you're prepared to ask challenging questions, that you really do bring your whole self to this program and really have something that you're really curious about and you're really keen to investigate quite deeply in terms of that kind of leadership challenge. Having said that, it's not essential that you have had lots of leadership experience in terms of managing a team. You might be at that point in your career where you're stepping into leadership, but it is absolutely imperative that you have a curiosity about people and how to get the most out of the people around you. So yeah, that's my take on the programme, briefly from my little jail cell in Hamilton. But I'm looking forward to meeting some of you, and apologies, I might not make it through the whole call because I do have to go back to another meeting, but I'm sure that Dave, Philippa and our wonderful alumni will be able to answer any other questions that you have. Is that enough from me, Dave? I can't hear you. Others might be able to, but I can't.
There you go. Always that issue. Yeah, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the rest of your day in Hamilton.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye. Okay, terrific. So we'll just move along. 1 second. Okay, great. So I just want to give you a brief overview. Before I do, so you're all here for the Leadership Mindset information session, which is the program we're talking about. Lainey just gave you a description, really focused on your leadership and your emotional intelligence. The transitioning to the C-suite program is a very different program, a leadership journey program, but it is complementary to Leadership Mindset. And we're going to have an information session on transitioning to the C-suite on Thursday, same time as this. So I'll send you an email with the link to that session if you want to join both, and then you can make a decision after listening to both sessions on which program would be the best fit for you. Okay, Lainey certainly went over the modules in depth of what's covered. Just to give you the dates and the schedule, and that's up on the website. So as she mentioned, there's 3 modules. The program will start August 11th and 12th in person at the University of Auckland. Second module is 8th and 9th September. And the third module is the 2nd and 3rd November. And I should say the second module, we're still looking at it, whether online or in person. We did learn through COVID, we had to go online. And though it's in person, it doesn't have the advantages of being in person, but there were certain things that we learned that worked very well online. So we're looking to implement more hybrid learning, which we think is really a sweet spot for these type of programs. So, and you can see the third module, and those dates are set. And then there's online learning and work that takes place in between the modules. But this is really, as Lainey talked about, a journey program. So, and the alumni can talk about that you go through a journey. And so it's great to have that, even though it's 6 days, it's spread over this three month period. And who should attend? There's really a wide variety of people that have attended. I think we have between 200 and 300 people who have attended the program, alumni of this program over the years. But certainly mid-career managers and professionals, though we have had senior people come into the program leading projects. You don't have to be a people leader. Certainly you can be a project leader. I think everybody now is working in complex environments and through uncertainty. And, really, I think it's as much about your mindset that you're willing, what you put into it and the amount you give to it is what you're going to get out of the program. And just an example, we really have, such a diversity of people that are in the program, executives and managers. This is just from the class of 221. You can see I just put the logos in of some of the people that participated. So from the Fonterras to the people from ACC, Radically Consulting, Sony, Pulse Energy. So that's what really makes the classroom so interesting, is you have people from the public sector, from the private sector, across all different industries, and that's what's going to make your learning and the discussion and the network that you're going to gain, and really a close network, because when you go through a program like this with people and you do this kind of sharing, you really develop some close relationships and lifelong, basically, relationships and network as you come through. Okay, and also Lainey, spoke, and she's the lead facilitator, but we also will bring in other guest speakers either during the sessions or in between the modules, in person or online. And just in the past year during the program, and our alumni again can talk about this, but we've had Craig Hudson, who's the managing director at Xero, and he is one of the alums of the program. Jemima Briggs, who's a GM Sales for Security, and she's also an alum, and she came in. Mark Powell has been very involved with the program over the years, and he's a former CEO of the warehouse, and he's an independent director on a bunch of different boards. And he is often a guest speaker and even takes longer sections of the class. And Professor Bridget Carroll, who's our Fletcher Building Chair Leadership at the University of Auckland. And she has taught the program fully prior to Lainey taking it over, but is certainly very involved as we're going through during the year. So you really get, it's not only, we're very happy, of course, to have Lainey and leading, but we want to bring other people and other perspectives in. And Philippa, who I will go to now, is also very involved and assisting. And we, I should also say we provide a lot of support for you as you're going through from our team. So we have a full team, as Rachel talked about, at Executive and Professional Development, and we provide a lot of support to make sure you have a great experience and you're getting everything you need. And on those module days, you're taken care of. So we have tea breaks and lunch and everything you need and materials on those days. So from here, I'll turn it over to Philippa to introduce our alumni and then moderate the discussion. And I think in these information sessions, this is really always the most valuable part of the session, where you can actually hear from the alumni. And again, feel free to start asking questions in the Q&A, and we can feed those to the alumni as we go through. So Philippa, I will turn it over to you.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko rangitoto te maunga, ko Waitemata te moana, no tamaki makoto aho, kei waipapa taumataro aho e mahi ana, ko Collins toku whānau, ko Philippa toku ingoa, nā mihi mahana kia koutou katoa. Thank you, Dave and Rachel, for those introductions, and Lainey for that wonderful overview of the program. As Dave mentioned, I've been involved with this program for many years now, and it's an absolute privilege to work with our incredible team of facilitators and guest speakers. And I've witnessed how this program can really transform the way people perceive and enact leadership, and the paradigm shifts and real breakthroughs that it enables for them in their leadership work and their career progression as well. So we are absolutely honoured to have 3 of our alumni here with us today to share their experience of the program. They were all part of our 2021 cohort, which, thanks to COVID, was our first virtual program run fully online. So I'll invite each of them to share a bit about their experience of the program shortly. And as Dave mentioned, we'll have the opportunity for some questions towards the end. So we have Sam from Sony New Zealand, we have Rafe from Fonterra, and Marlena from Radically Consulting. So welcome to you all. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us and share some of your insights today. So let's start off with Sam. Sam, I'll allow you to introduce yourself, and then perhaps you can tell us a bit about what attracted you to the program, and I guess how maybe it's differed from some of the other leadership training or programs that you've participated in the past. Sorry, Sam, I'm not sure we can hear you.
Is that better? Can you hear me now? I had 2 mutes. Okay, there we go. So kia ora, everyone. My name is Sam Duncan. I'm the General Manager at Sony New Zealand. I suppose the reason I was attracted to this course, working in a multinational, I've been lucky enough to go on a lot of global courses with Sony, and the thing I always felt was it was very Sony-centric in the way we were taught, and I suppose what COVID did for us meant that we couldn't do any more travel, and I started to look for something locally that I could pick up and I suppose reinforce some of those skills without the Sony spin on things. And I looked at a number of courses, and this one sort of seemed to do or have that roundedness that I wanted. For me, it was, I think if you go back to what Lainey said, we were living in a VUCA world as we started this course, because we went from the course being supposed to be at the university to a fully online course, and that happened within a matter of days. If you look back at Dave's presentation and you transpose those dates back a year, you all know where we were. And as we got into the second session, the biggest thing that I took from it was learning to be vulnerable with my team. And we had Craig Hudson, as was in the presentation before, spoke to us about vulnerability. And I think for me, there's always this perception around leadership is you shouldn't show weakness, and you're the strength of the organization. And that's a real common, I suppose, misconception. And it makes you a little bit unrelatable to a lot of the team. And as we got through our second session, I suppose we were probably a month into the Auckland lockdown at that point. And, we were all going through our own thing. We were supporting ourselves, our families, our staff. And that really resonated with me. And I completely changed the communication to my team out of that session. And as a result, you got a lot more feedback from what you got, and people actually started asking how you were, and you really actually started to see that you had connected with them on a different level. And leadership is all of the skills, but it's also more about connections and vulnerability and leading the team through these difficult times. The cohort that we were with in 2021 was pretty diverse, and I think we all connected really well online. We were a little bit cynical about being online the whole course, but we really connected well. And what you get out of this is everyone's pretty honest, and the feedback sometimes you get from everyone, because we're all in this together, is pretty direct and straight to the point, and you learn from each other as you go through. So overall, the course for me consolidated what I'd already learned. And sort of said to me, I was moving in the right direction, but now I've got a little bit more of a framework to work within for different times when you need some specific skills to work yourself through, the ever-changing environment you face as a leader.
Great, thanks, Sam. And that's a valid point, that I think the traditional sort of notion of a leader is that they have to sort of have it all together and have all the answers, and showing that vulnerability is actually so important and can open up space for others. You just touched on the cohort and the relationships you formed and the ability to sort of learn from one another's perspectives. Raffaele, perhaps you can talk a little bit about your experience of the cohort and how the relationships you formed supported you in your leadership challenges.
Yep. Thanks, Flipper, and hello, everyone. First of all, it was a very amazing experience to be part of the program, where I got the opportunity to learn, unlearn, and relearn a lot of things that sometimes you know it, but actually you need to unlearn and relearn it the new way. So that was the amazing part of it. Regarding a group had a good mix of professionals from different industries. So throughout the course, we shared experiences of our real life, at workplace, and how to apply these learnings back to our workplaces. In the group discussions we had, we get to know the others, perspective as well. You sometimes, fall back to the default position of either a managerial level or at a subject matter expert mindset, but in the group discussions, you are kind of like bound to think from a leader's perspective. So I think that was the real essence of the program, to be interactive in a way, to think in that direction of leadership, not just your default positions. So all the activities related to the program and the group discussions, it makes you think that you are a leader, and either you are in whatever level you are in the organization. It gives you a platform to practice those things during the workshop, so you go back to your workplace and apply them in the real life. As I said, the program was so interactive. It helps you retain a lot of concepts that you learned based on the interaction and activities that you have throughout the 3 sessions over 3 months. So yeah, that was the amazing part of the program.
Thanks, Rafe. And, I think one of the challenges of leadership development, a lot of leadership development fails because it stays in the classroom. The ability to actually transfer the learning and see how it applies, and I guess find a way to articulate it and make sense of it so that you can use it is so important. So it's, I think Lainey touched on it earlier, having the ability to experiment and to test out, try different things is such a crucial part of this. And we really try and build in that practice element, both within those workshop sessions, but also encouraging you to do that in the time between the sessions as well. Marlena, welcome. You could talk a little bit about your experience of implementing the learning and how you've managed to use some of what you took away from the program.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Philippa. So I'm Marlena Streurulo, and I'm one of the principal consultants at Radically Consulting. And I have been a bit tainted by other leadership courses as well, because quite often what those courses do is they confuse management and leadership. And so I came on the course with a lot of preconceptions of what this was going to be, and was really, focused on management. And when this course was really able to distill what leadership is, what the leadership mindset is for me, it sort of really changed my thinking. And what this enabled me to do is go back into my organization and build a lot of empathy for our leaders in the organization, but also to really just take the tools that we learned, like Lenny mentioned, framing, the models, adaptive leadership, and just look at the problems that I was seeing, the challenges that I was facing with really different eyes. And it was quite profound, because even my boss said to me, like, you've changed so much since you've been through this course, because you suddenly you are able to apply different frames, he literally said, you apply a different mindset to the challenges that we are facing in the organization. And so I was really happy to see that what I took from these 3 workshops, and also from what other participants shared with me, and I was able to directly apply it, like, from basically the next day into my work with my own company, as a leader in my company. But also for me, it actually had a different sort of slant to it as well. I work with a lot of leaders in the organization, in different organizations throughout New Zealand. And the tools and the frameworks that I learned in this course enabled me to also be more empathetic to their challenges, but also to be able to bring this leadership mindset to companies in New Zealand. And so I was extremely happy to find that the vision of the University of Auckland, bringing good and better leadership in this VUCA world to New Zealand, is very much aligned with the work that I have, that we do, and how I really want to contribute to New Zealand. So it might be a bit of a grand statement, but I really found that it was very practical tools that I was really able to bring to my organization, but also other organizations. And yeah, through the practice of those tools, I also found that I created sort of an interest in my organization, and now I have the challenge. I really want to bring this to my whole leadership team, because I can see that creating this aligned view of what distilled view of what a leadership mindset is, and bringing those tools and frameworks to my organization as a whole, to my whole leadership team, will really enable us to be a modern organization with good leadership, and then being able to bring that to the others. So yeah, I took a lot out of it, and I was really able to apply it straight away. And it has changed not only my career, but also I think helped me to change the fate of some other organizations. So that was really fantastic.
Fabulous, thanks, Elena. And, you know, I think you just alluded to it there. I think one of the big challenges in applying the learning is when you go back into an organisation and nobody else has had the same experience, and so they don't necessarily have the same language and understanding. So, you know, often we encourage people to consider whether they might like to come along with a colleague or even a group of colleagues, because in addition to having the, you know, the support network of the peer partnerships within the program, it's actually really beneficial to be able to bounce some of those ideas once you're back in your context as well. I'll put a question out to all three of you. Can you think of one thing that really surprised you, or maybe that, you know, I know, Rafa, you talked about some unlearning. Were there things that you actually thought you knew about leadership that actually you had to sort of challenge? Or
yeah, and I just say, sorry, Phil.
Sorry, Dave.
If anybody in the audience has any questions that they'd like to submit, you can do that now through the Q&A function, and we can feed that to the alumni. And this is a great, or to myself or Phil, but really this is a great chance to ask some specific questions.
Thanks, Dave.
Sorry, Rafi, go ahead.
Yep, sorry. So there were many concepts. One of them, which is like my favorite one is now, which I'm applying almost every day, is the framing and reframing. So it's about how you put the problem in front of the people and present your solution. So it should reflect what's in it for them and how we're going to solve it together. It shouldn't reflect that you come up from a different angle, which is not, you know, in sync with the other people you are working with together. So it should be, you know, rephrased or phrased in a way that people should think that they are also part of this. So that is a real, you know, unlearned thing for me. And I relearned it throughout the program, and I'm now applying it in my day-to-day job. So, yep, really amazing.
Great. Anything else from Malena or Sam to add there?
I think that one of the things that a lot of the team took out was how you can actually utilize conflict. And it was a big surprise for probably the whole group, how conflict can actually be a good thing. We're always taught, you know, that conflict is bad, but, you know, you can use conflict in a really healthy way to get the right outcomes for your organization. And that was definitely something that I think most of the group kind of had a bit of an aha moment on.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think it's a natural tendency as New Zealanders to show up that, I think, but yeah, absolutely, there's value should be had there. Malena, anything to add?
Yes, I being trained as a consultant and seeing it, okay, bringing solutions. Quite often, I probably thought about leadership as, you know, providing solutions, but actually having learned that it is keeping that productive tension in the organization and finding or learning tools and ways of bringing the tension or easing the tension as a tool to provide leadership so that the group can come to a solution that works, because those wicked challenges that Lenny mentioned, they don't have one solution, and we all know that we all face those things in our day-to-day lives. So that was really eye-opening, and a concept that I thought the whole group really embraced and found quite valuable to see it this way, frame it differently. Yeah,
absolutely. Flipping that on its head, instead of having the answers, actually asking questions, learning how to ask really good questions and being curious is actually a really fantastic tool to use, you know, and as part of your leadership. We've just seen a couple of questions coming through. So how big is the class generally? Yes, I can respond to that. So the cohort last year was 19. We generally have somewhere between sort of 16 and 20 people. We find that's a sweet spot in terms of you know, getting the overall dynamic, having that diversity in the room, which is so valuable in terms of gaining different perspectives, but keeping it small enough that those relationships can form and you can get, establish trust and be able to have both those small group conversations and those larger group conversations and it not be too unwieldy. So that generally is, the numbers we aim for. Another question here, can you expand a bit about the conflict thing? I've experienced a lot of conflict in my current role and it's been detrimental to getting anything done. Anyone want to tackle that?
I suppose since I raised it, I'll get put on the spot. I think generally there's a model that we use, and it recognizes or allows you to recognize what position people often take in conflict, and then how to utilize or use those positions that they're taking, and how to work with the individuals to actually get a result. It's a half a day session that can't really be summed up in a couple of minutes, but like I said, it's a really big aha moment, I think, for a lot of the people in our course, and we all talked about it in the final session. So,
and I think there's an important distinction there too around healthy conflict and respectful conflict. So being able to oppose or challenge somebody in a respectful way and generate conflict that actually helps you to move forward, as opposed to conflict for the sake of conflict that perhaps becomes more personal and has a negative impact. So there is a distinction to make there and experience.
Just to add what Sam mentioned, that usually conflict, the word itself represents somehow a negative feeling. Whenever you hear this, you feel that something is bad. That is actually the mindset we talk about in the program, that it's not a negative thing to happen in an organization. It's normal and natural. And then this gives us the opportunity to use the tool to actually turn this around and make it a productive discussion rather than a conflicting one. So yeah, just to add from my side that, the mindset itself talks about don't take this as a negative, connotation, but think how we can work together to resolve it rather than to just keep discussing the conflict and, goes nowhere. So, yep, that was my, takeaway from this.
Thank you. Hopefully that's been of some help. Next question, the 6 days of workshops are spread out over 3 months. Is the intention to give some tools and concepts that people then take away to test out and reflect back on before regrouping again for the next session? Yes, that is absolutely the intention. And we try and facilitate that by just getting you to focus on particular aspects of leadership, and not in terms of providing a lot of additional work for you. It shouldn't feel sort of labor intensive on top of your existing workload. So we're really getting you to think about, it's on the work. So it's what you're already doing and just thinking about how you're doing it, how you're interacting with others, and even just being more aware and noticing things around you. I think this program does help you to be sort of hyper aware of certain dynamics and things that are at play. So yes, that's the intent there. Anything that anybody else would like to add on that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I mean, we're paired up in with buddies, and we are supposed to meet in between. And actually that is really, really useful, because you're paired with someone who does not have any bias towards your situation. Typically, if you talk to someone in your organization, they will have their own opinion, own baggage. And so it was super useful to have someone to talk to who would then ask those interesting questions and use what they learned to help you as a person to shift your thinking, see things in a different way, or perhaps ask different questions towards the situation. So it not only helps you to reflect yourself, but you're also paired up with someone who challenges you, or who just asks those questions that can spark those thoughts of, never saw it this way, I didn't see this boundary, how might I move that? And to have this productive discussion. So it's really valuable.
Great, thank you. So Warwick, it's really exciting to see how passionate you all speak about this course. I'm looking forward to seeing what pearls I can get out of it and what aha moments I will have. Thank you, Warwick. I think more of a comment than a question.
Yeah, I have a question for the two questions. First, so I did one of our emotional intelligence short courses. So it was a 2-day course, And it was really, transformational for me. And it was also spread over a period. So it really helped me. But a lot, in my work, but also in my personal life and with my stress levels. And I sort of took out some I started getting into meditation a little bit and things like that. So I'm wondering how, if you have any examples other than just kind of the professional stuff, but is there anything in your personal life or any new things that you've picked up? I guess it could be related to the question, right? The aha moments that you've kind of picked up since you've completed the course.
I think I'd go back to what I said originally around that vulnerability and authenticism. That was a big thing for me, especially at the time, because there was, it was VUCA at its best, I suppose. And you learn if you can learn to put that into your professional life, sometimes it's even more difficult in your personal life. So, but you take the lead from one to the other, and it makes it, you just continue to learn on it. And for me, that was, it's not just something I've learned from a professional piece, but also in my personal life.
Great, thanks.
If I might add, I guess we are all leaders in our own life. And so a lot of the tools that you learn, you can apply to any challenge that you have, and you will face a lot of, personally, I think us as humans face a lot of wicked challenges that have nothing to do with our professional life. And those tools can help you. There's the curiosity, the asking questions, the reframing, the staying with the tension, or even creating space as a leader to think. I think it's very applicable to any wicked challenge in our lives. So for me, it has helped me as a whole person, not only as a professional.
Great. So secondly, the second question I had is, so all of you were sponsored by I believe you're all sponsored by your organization, and it's, certainly it's great development, but I'm sure a lot of the people on the call now are thinking about how do they go about talking to their management, talking to their HR about sponsorship, financial sponsorship, as well as time off to do this program. And sometimes people will pay for it, the company will sponsor, or they'll split, sometimes they'll pay some, the company will pay some, or they can spread it out over a couple of years. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that process. And Abdul, Rafi, do you want to?
I can, yeah. So see, if no matter where you are in your leadership journey, you have to be always striving for excellence, going up to the next level in leadership. So I think the program offers you the right tools and concepts to work over, so you can become a better human or a better leader, not only in your organization, but in your life as well. So going up to the management and asking them, I think nobody should be afraid of doing this, and they must support it, keeping in view you are interested in moving in that direction. So they will also get an idea of your interest and how you want to apply those learnings when you come back from the course back into the organization, and how valuable it can be for the organization and the people around you. To be honest, this course, you somehow cannot relate money with what you learned. Money is kind of like you spend for the time that you interact with people, but the learnings are invaluable. You cannot justify the amount versus the learning. But I think whoever has interest in leadership and want to develop themselves in that space must definitely go and ask the management, or kind of like partial agreements. I'll pay half, you pay half, or maybe you pay first and then reimburse later. Whatever options can be worked out. But if you have a definite interest in this, then you should not consider money as a hurdle in your way to become someone who you want to be in the future. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And I think that when you talk to your management about this, it demonstrates, as you said, your interest in developing yourself. And even if perhaps they're not able to sponsor it this year, they might think about the future or about other development, but certainly indicates and especially in this time of retaining people, and it's very important. And people probably have more leverage than they might think in doing these things. Sam or Marlena, any other comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, as was mentioned previously, the course is very, like the learnings are very applicable. And so being asked to bring a challenge, it could be that you can select a challenge in your organization that you can help solve. And that is a really, really good case to say, okay, you know, this is a problem that I can help solve and I can help work on, bring it to the course. And you've heard about this in this course. And the other thing is, it was mentioned that the network is one of the key things that we also take out of this. And so having a network as an organization, expanding your network and having people who are connected with other leaders in organizations in New Zealand opens a lot of doors and fosters also collaboration on a better future for New Zealand. So I think these are really good arguments that can help you convince your management to invest in you as a leader, and also shows your passion for not only working in your role, but also improving the business as a whole, which I think shows your ambition.
Great, thanks. Terrific. Any other? I think we're closing in on the end. I'll just give it another second. If anybody in the audience has any further questions, feel free to submit them. We will send you a follow-up email, and I'm sure people in the audience, would you mind if they contact you on LinkedIn or in other ways, so we can, and we're certainly happy to, we don't want to overwhelm them. They're giving their time, but we're certainly happy to connect you with other alumni that have gone through the program, if this is something you want to find more about. And Philippa and I will certainly be happy to have individual conversations following this session, if that might be helpful to you.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Well, anything else, Philippa, before we close out?
I don't think so. Just a very big thank you to our alumni panel. That was great insights. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Generally, thank you so much for coming in and talk to people about the program. So, and again, thank you, Philippa, for your contributions, and to Rachel and Eleni and everybody else who joined. So from here, I'll send you a follow-up email. You can go to the website. We're happy to have personal conversations. As I mentioned, you might want to join our the Transitioning to the C-Suite information session on Thursday to learn about that program. And also look at our short courses. If maybe you're not ready for one of these longer journey programs, we run short courses, and we also run custom programs for organizations. So we're happy to talk to you about running a program for your company. But with that, I will close it out, say thank you to everyone, and stay in touch. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Everyone.